What's going on, guys? This is Rob with Animus Visual Reviews. I'm back again with another one. I said I was going to get more active on my YouTube, and if you've been at all paying any attention, I've definitely made some new uploads, and here we go for another round. Today I want to talk about a brand new monitor, which, no lie, like 3 weeks ago, I was like, I wonder if my current Portkeys monitor has touch to focus for my Sony cameras, like the A7, and it did not. But then, lo and behold, Portkeys releases this thing, which is just a box, but inside of it is a badass monitor, the LH5P II, which we'll go over in just a minute. If you're new to the channel, again, I'm a Tampa-based DP, and you can check out all my stuff here. I'm gonna leave a link to my website. Leave a like, comment, subscribe on this channel if you like any of the content, and we're gonna go ahead and get into it. This is the case that it came out of the box. So your standard hard case, 4 clasps on either side here. Go ahead and pop this open. Okay, and this is the monitor. Very light, actually, much lighter than my BM5 WR II, which I use on my Komodo, which I also bought with my own money. This was graciously sent to me by Portkeys. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to review this again because it does have a ton of features that are very useful for Sony users as myself. I have an A7S III and an A7 IV that I plan to use this monitor with, so I'm pretty excited to put those features to the test and show you guys how it works. All right, so what's in the box?
What's in the box?
All right, so number one, you get a camera control for LAN C. If your camera has LAN C plug, then this would be the remote plug here to control the camera using the monitor. You also get the 5-pin aviation cable for power. It is not a D-tap, but a 12-volt DC barrel. And you also get a USB-C camera control, which would also work for Sony's and other cameras that use USB-C as their control cable. You also get 2 antennas. This is to obviously screw here into the back of the monitor for wireless control. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on real quick. Cool thing is, yeah, they included 2 of these. Obviously they're not super expensive, but it's good to have a spare just in case you ever take this off and lose it. And lastly, the oft included USB stick. This is good to load your LUTs and do firmware updates here at the USB port. Pretty simple, nothing out of the ordinary. Let's get into the details. All right, so let's briefly go over the basic features before I get into what's really changed with the new monitor. So number one, this is a 5.5-inch screen. It is a 1080 monitor, but does take a 4K signal. Of note and importance is the fact that it's only HDMI, does not have any SDI ports like its big brother, the BM5 WR, so no Komodo here. So next we have the brightness, which is 2200 nit. Honestly, most of the Animus line is 1000 nit, and most people swear by them. I rarely need to go over half brightness in my BM5, and this is pretty much the same thing. So very, very bright and easy to see in daylight. In terms of the build, this is also an aluminum shell and a glass screen, so it is extremely durable. It also weighs a lot less than the BM5 WR, but great to not have to put a cage on this. It is, able to be screwed in directly. You also have these 2 divots here to keep it from rotating on your 1/4-inch thread. As far as power is concerned, it does take an MPF battery, only one of them at a time. And down here you can see the USB port where you can do your, again, firmware updates and LUT loading, as well as a 5-pin aviation port, which again, the cable is included. On the side here, you can see in between the HDMI in and out, it does have a headphone jack for you to monitor your audio from your HDMI out on your camera. All right, so I also wanted to compare it to its bigger brother, the BM5 WR. This is the BM5 WR. As you can see, it's quite different on the back. There's a lot more stuff going on, but one of the main comparisons that I'll be making with this and this one is the way that the aviation cable plugs into it. So this one goes on the bottom, and this one actually is plugged in just directly on the back, which jets out quite a bit when you power your camera. Another big difference is the position of the buttons. So on this one, you have power button here on the side, And on the new one, the power button's on the top as well as the rest of the buttons. I do like the fact they used to have a 1/4" thread on the top of the monitor in case you wanted to mount it differently, or if you wanted to put a cage on it. I don't think it's necessary on aluminum monitors, but it was nice to have a separate mounting point, which you do not have anymore on the LH5P. But the footprint is greatly reduced in contrast, so there's trade-offs there. This is a lot heavier and a lot more going on thanks to the SDI. It needs a lot more cooling. It can be pretty loud. So there's that in comparison to this. So I'm excited to see how this fares. All right, so to get to the tools menu, all you have to do is swipe from left to right. And here you'll find all of the different tools that are available for you. For example, this is your peaking tool here, and you can just turn it on, and depending on what's in focus, you will get a peaking line. It's very faint and hard to see right now. I'm gonna turn up the sensitivity, but you can kind of see it there. It's red, I'll turn it green so you can really tell. There's also a section here for the style. So this is one of the new features. You can do original style. There's a black and white. There's a grayscale, middle, low, high, and black. Very cool changes they've made on the peaking. Also, as you can see, the menu itself is not showing any peaking lines, which it used to in previous versions. So they've cleaned up the peaking. Also, there's a windowed peaking that I'm going to show you here in just a moment. If you notice here, there is a section at the bottom where you can swipe, and now you can do a mask, which right now is not doing anything. But if you click on frame, again, much like the rectangular crop, you'll be able to adjust a certain area of your monitor for peaking. So if you notice, it'll actually only peak in the certain area that you select. And again, just like rectangular crop, you can also move it around to that specific section. So when you go back, you'll only get a specific frame of the area you want to check peaking on. And again, this is just based on the style. You can switch it around. Okay, so this is another tool here. This is your false color. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off peaking so it's not as distracting. So all you have to do is tap, and it'll turn your feature on or off. As you can see here, this is your RE false color, as well as a user defined false color, which you can use to determine your underexposure warning and your overexposure warning levels. Pretty interesting here to be able to play with the exact levels at where you want to be told that you're underexposed or overexposed. Okay, and if you tap back here, you'll get out of the tool. If you tap here in the setting again, you'll go into the settings for that tool. So tapping back will get you back to the main menu, and again, tapping the tool will turn it on and off. Okay, next you have your Luma waveform, which again is one good way to tell before or after. As you can see, the LUT is applied on screen, but if you click the before and after, it doesn't actually change your image, but it changes the way that your waveform is displaying the information. So it's pre-LUT or post-LUT. In this case, is before, which is why the levels don't show as high. But of course, when you click after, you'll be able to see that the brightness reaches a higher level because it's actually monitoring what you're seeing on the monitor. Next up, you have your guides. You'll have the on and off button here, and you can switch through the different options. If you're shooting vertical content for Instagram Reels, this will show you how to basically frame it. So you can turn the masks on and off, and that will actually just mask out the areas that are outside of the guide. Okay, next up we have your grids. Pretty easy. I'll turn off the guides here to not get confused. So in your grids, you can turn those on and off. Here's your different regions. So the most common one obviously is the 2 regions here. You can also customize the color of the grid. Here you have your check field settings. The red is going to look almost exactly like what it actually looks like. But you can basically monitor each one of your RGB channels. Your zebras here. As you can see, you can customize exactly what IRE you want your zebras at. And you can customize the high and low IREs in different colors also. So for example, I could do green for low and like blue for high. There's not too much overexposed, so it'll be hard to see, but it's cool that you can do a bicolor zebra for high and low. As you can see, I set the high here to blue and the low is at 0 IRE, which means this image would be normally underexposed and everything you see in green, which is pretty much everything that's black on the image right now. Okay, I'm gonna turn those off. Moving on, you have the Luma histogram, turn those on. Okay, and it's just gonna change. It's just your normal histogram. You can go through different areas. You can place it on the screen. You can make it transparent, or you can actually see the entire block. And we'll back out of that. Okay, and here you have your actual histogram in RGB. This is also subject to your before and after LUT. So this is before the LUT. Again, this would be what your log image is seeing, but most of you will be monitoring with a LUT on the monitor, which means you'll want to make sure it's an after, and that way you can get a better representation of what your exposure looks like. Okay, you also have your audio levels. They're unobtrusive and they're just here at the very top of the screen. Obviously, there seems to be some customizable settings here, so you can switch left and right. You can change the translucence, so basically it's a little bit transparent or just completely on the screen. And then you can change where they're located on your monitor, top, bottom, or side. And you also have your LUT setting right here, just on or off. You could also customize exactly what your LUT is that you have. So that's a quick setting here for the LUT. And one of the new features here is the rectangle crop, where you can resize a section of your screen so you can crop into it, whether that be for focusing or if you wanted to permanently crop an image, for example, anamorphic, to show only a portion of the screen that you're actually going to be using. You can now crop in monitor, so super useful feature. I'll go over how that works. All right, so you can basically resize to a portion of the screen here that you want to see. And then you can also move your X and Y point, so you can move where the size of that square is in relation to the screen here. And then once you've selected it, you can back out, and when you press it, you'll get that area cropped. So if it's off, you get the whole monitor size. If you have the crop on, boom. I probably could crop a little tighter, but I think you get the point. You can go back into the settings and hit resize, and you can just actually click and drag. Instead of using these settings here, you can actually just drag with your finger to the area that you want to be zoomed into. I'm gonna go ahead and make it more obvious here so you can tell. And I'll put it right here, and when I go back, it'll be cropped at that point. All right, guys, so now I wanted to talk about one of the major features on this monitor, and that is wireless control through Sony cameras, as well as touch to focus on Sony cameras. So the way you do that is, if you go to the menu settings here under your network settings, transfer remote, just go to control with smartphone. Once I actually hit control with smartphone connection, the screen will go black, indicating basically that it's ready to be connected. You just tap on the screen, you'll go to add new device, and there you'll see the A7S Mark III. If you click on it, it will bring you to this screen, which is for you to enter the password. You can see here on your screen, the trash can icon shows connect with password. So you can just tap on that on the screen, or you can click here in the trash, and that will show you the password. So you'll just want to enter this password that you see on your Sony screen. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, and then you hit OK. Now the camera and monitor are connected. And as you can see, all of my settings show up on the screen, which is really cool. So now I can adjust all of the settings here, including shutter, and it's extremely responsive, as you can see. You can also select using the arrows. ISO you can change, and more importantly, I'd say the fact that you're able to record off the screen here, just pressing on the record button. As you can see, my Sony has started recording. If I tap it again, obviously you tap it in a specific place. It does take a second to start and stop recording, so just keep that in mind. Obviously it's wireless controlled, so there is a slight delay. It's, again, fairly responsive as far as the touch aspect. In essence, you can change most of your camera settings here. So if you go to the focus settings, and this is one of the ones that I wanted to really showcase. So you have your autofocus, manual focus key here, as well as your tracking. So if you're in this tracking screen and I was to tap on my hand, for example, it will touch the track. Now, unfortunately, you will not be able to see the tracking point in the monitor like you do on the Sony screen. However, as you can see, I can touch anywhere and you can tell that the tracking point has moved and the focus point has shifted. All right, so I've enlisted the help of my daughter here so we can do a test for focus tracking. So in essence, I'm just gonna go ahead and tap. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that tracking is selected here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tap here on her face. And as you can see, it has now started tracking her face. And has adjusted here to the eye autofocus, and as you can see is tracking just fine. And then if I just selected, for example, here, you can see that it tracks a different point, and back on her it'll track her eye. There's other menus here that I want to discuss. One of them is the focus menu, and that would be for systems like the Tilta follow focus system that you can control with this monitor as well. So if you're on this menu, for example, all you have to do is swipe upwards and you will get to the follow focus menu. Here you have your A and B points that you can set. I don't have a Tilta set up at this very moment, but if you guys want me to, I can go through and show you how that Tilta system works. But in essence, you have your A and B points that you can set. Here's where you can do the calibration for the motor, as well as rack focus between A and B, and you can do a set of time and you can select how many seconds it will take between the rack focus of A and B points. You can also control different motors, focus, zoom, and iris motors after you pair them. If you have a Tilta follow focus system, whether it be a Tilta Nucleus Nano or a Nucleus M, you'll be able to control them with this monitor. So that's really cool. So I hope you guys enjoy the review. I myself really enjoyed messing around with this monitor. It's absolutely mind-blowing just how many features are packed into this monitor, which is only $400. And I say that relatively because the amount of features like rival Small HD. I am totally impressed with this monitor. I'm impressed with the features, and I'm not just saying that because I got a review unit. Honestly, I owned 4 Portkeys monitors and only 2 of them were sent to me. So really, I'm just a fan of this company in general, and this one, they have made huge strides and great improvements in, again, their tools and how they operate. So duly impressed. Honestly, if you shoot on a Sony camera, A7S, A7 III, A7 IV, you really cannot go wrong with this monitor. And honestly, it's probably the best monitor you can buy for the money right now in terms of feature set. If you have any questions, guys, please leave them down below. I'd love to test any more features that you guys have on this monitor. Again, they make great stuff, and I'm sure to be using this for my camera rigs going forward. So until next time, guys, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.